Hi, my name is Mandy Pretty, and I'm here to show you how we would introduce first human contact with a foal using the Tellington TTouch method. We have here in the middle of winter in Canada a little Icelandic filly named Sola who was born in the autumn and ended up being the only foal. So we sort of kicked her out with the herd to let her be a horse, and so as a result she really hasn't had any handling. She's being gently herded into a trailer with her mother and dewormed there, but other than that she really doesn't know what people are or what to expect from them. So these are the steps we take to respectfully and gently introduce human contact to her. So I have Sola and her mother Soli in an enclosed stall area, and you want a place that's small enough that they won't get moving, but big enough that they feel that they can get away from you if what you're doing is too much and they need a break. So one of the things we use to make contact with animals that aren't maybe comfortable with human proximity are these 4-foot dressage whips we call them wands, and most of that's just so they don't have such a negative feeling like the word whip does. And so I can let her sniff them, but most horses will be thinking this is a bit strange at first, so I'm not worried if she steps away from them. And I know lots of people say, I only use this as an extension of my hand, but that really is what we use the wands for, a way to touch the horses in a non-threatening way, and we do this with all species. Not necessarily as a signal, although sometimes we can use it as a gentle suggestion, but more to increase body awareness and give the horse an idea of where they are in space. So, sort of outline the body, we might stroke the legs, tap the feet, which will help increase proprioception and actually change how they feel in their own skin. So when I use the wand, I want to make sure I don't use it in a mindless way or in a really ticklish way. So we'll see if I can do this while I'm holding the camera. I might just gently give her one little stroke down the chest, and I pause. And I want to make sure I just don't do things incessantly. I don't want to do it until she tells me it's too much. I'd rather give her a little feel of what I'm doing and then leave her wanting more, or at least being curious about it. You don't want to just do it and flood the animal, or do it so much that they feel that they have to do something to make you stop. We want to be really mindful about how the animal is experiencing what we're doing. And I could use 1 or 2 wands. I happen to be using 2 because if I had 2 hands available, I'd often cross them to actually touch the inside and outside of the leg. So I'm just giving her a little moment. She's curious, and I'm letting her be behind her mother and keep her space. And because I have this 4-foot extension, I don't need to get really close to her to make contact. Good girl. I could also go over top and touch her from over her mother. Again, I don't have to be really close to her. I can give her the space. And again, I'm mindfully just making a little contact, stopping, and whoa, what was that? Again. And this is a really great tool to use if you have horses that are concerned about being touched on one side or the other. Many horses are less comfortable with being touched on the right side, and a lot of that will be postural asymmetries in the body. Over the centuries in most breeds, we've been really good at training horses to be more comfortable on the left than the right. We don't carry swords anymore, which was the reason we started on the left. So there's really no reason that everything we do is on the left side. But over, the centuries, foals mimic their mother's posture. So I really do think we've sort of ingrained that. Now, she's already much more curious than at any point I've been near her, just from that little sort of gentle introduction of the wand, because I gave her the choice. I'm not kind of throwing myself on her. And every time we work with sort of horses or any animal, we like to go along with the whole less is more. So I would do several short sessions in a day rather than one really long one. So she's oops, sorry, girlie. So she was a little surprised because she was sort of eating what her mother was eating, so she wasn't really thinking. So that's okay. I'll just let her go back to where she feels safe behind Soli. And then I can come back and just sort of make a little contact without being so close. Good girl. So I have the stroke firm enough that it's not ticklish. Good girl. And now I have it off of her, just next to her mother. And one of the nice things about introducing yourself to foals this way, and we've been doing this for decades, is that you also really help the horses be familiarized with a whip-like object. Now, we don't like to use the word desensitized, because really you don't ever want a horse unsensitive, do you? I want her to be comfortable with and familiar with it and know that it's not something that's scary. Good girl. It's literally just going to touch her, and she's quite curious, and you want to just kind of see where can I touch her all over. If she wants to go away, that's fine. But you can already see the wheels turning, and she's saying, you're kind of interesting. And Mom's here, and Soli's, not at all protective about her. This is a reason, too, you want to just have enough space that they can move a little bit. They're not feeling totally trapped. So I can just touch a little here on the hindquarters. The wand's also great for older horses that might be a little reactive with their hind legs. This way you can touch them, and they can get used to being touched there, and you stay in a safe position. Besides the obvious reason you want to stay in a safe position, it also makes you less reactive. So you don't, if a horse, say, seemed like they might kick out or move a leg, you aren't going to be reacting in a mindless way. You can just sort of stay neutral about the whole situation. So she's already much more interested than she was when she first came into the stall. And I just want to give her these moments of pause where I allow her to process and just sort of, again, no, I'm going to stop. No, there's no expectation of her. But it gives her nervous system a chance to process what she's been feeling and what she's been experiencing. So this would be the very first step that I do with a foal. I'm sure I could go up and give her a little scratch, but just even touching her and making this quiet contact is really useful, especially since she's never been in an enclosed area like this before besides a horse trailer. Good girl. And you can already see they're sort of cornering me. She's really interested in what's going on. Mom's hoping I have a few more goodies to put in her bucket, but they're just hopeful. Okay, so then I'll go away. It's all handy when the mother's so short, like an Icelandic. It's really easy to look over top of her and be able to touch the foal with the wand. So you could also, if the foal was a little closer, if the horse is short, you could reach over and touch them with your hand. But I'm just going to start with this session with the wand and just give her a little feeling. Good. If I come here and I just kind of see, how's it going? I can let her sniff me. You want to be really aware that you don't let the horses just sort of mindlessly nibble at you, that you're actually paying attention when you offer your hand out for them to sniff. Because it's sort of reflexive that horses will put things in their mouth. It's how they explore one of the ways they explore the world. So I don't want to just leave my hand here or mess with her mouth until she nibbles at me, and what lots of people's reaction would be to swat at them, which really isn't fair. Many foals, when you first touch them or go to pick up their legs, they'll go around and nibble at you, and some of that's reflexive when you start to watch them wrestle and play in the field with other horses, as they'll grab each other behind the knee and actually go in for a wrestling response. Okay, so this is really interesting. So I can just give her a little touch. And again, it's just this little moment, and then I back off so she doesn't just feel that there'll be sort of this incessant, nonstop contact. We want to give her those times to process. Because the more time you give them and the sort of lower stress you keep it, the more they actually retain for the next session, because you don't have all those stress hormones that sort of block learning. We want to keep this low stress, because you do need a certain amount of stress to create change, but not so much that we're in a non-thinking mode. We want her to think about what's happening, being sort of engaged in the process. Good girl. I'm going to stay sort of to the side of her. If she wants to turn and look at me, maybe even touch my hand, that's okay. Good girl. And then I kind of back off. And if she wants to go see Mom, that's fine. So often they'll go and they'll nurse. Again, that might be sort of a coping mechanism, a bit of their own calming signal. But just giving her that space and that time is really important. So I would end it here for this first session and just give her a chance to know that was no big deal. People in a small space, it's not really that scary. So that was our first session, making contact with an unhandled foal. We will continue on tomorrow and see where we go from there. And so I've just turned them back in their paddock, and already this foal is so much more interested in people than she has been in the past. So it's really interesting how just a little goes a long way. And of course I could have done more with her if I was really rushed or pressed for time, but I have lots of time, And my intention is to just work with her a little bit every day, maybe 2 sessions a day if we have time, and it'll just give her a really solid foundation of trusting people and understanding what's asked of her.